Good morning. Hi, I'm Karen Gumberdo. I am the property management chair, and I want to thank you for coming to this important meeting. We have some very important people from every county and every city to talk about licensing. I do want to give Chris Cook a moment. He is the owner of Budget Blinds, and he provided breakfast this morning, so I'm going to give him a few minutes to talk to you about what he does.
My pleasure. I do a lot of work with Karen. She's great. Give it up. I know everyone knows what a hard worker she is. We all appreciate it. But I just want to let you guys know that I'm with Budget Blinds, Merritt Island. We're the largest window covering franchise in the country. What does that mean? That means that we got everything you put on the window we can do. Designer Linda back there. She's awesome. She makes drapes and cornices and everything. We've done a lot of work staging homes, getting rid of the old 1970s verticals and putting something real up to sell. I think the other things that make us different, we got the best warranty. Most of our stuff is a lifetime warranty, and most of our stuff also has a one-time, no questions asked. For 5 years, we'll replace it. So on one time, we'll come out and replace it, no charge. So the landlords love that. That's their favorite feature. We also have a registered PE and a general contractor on staff, so we can do the crazy stuff if someone wants to go crazy with modifications. We also, I'm a Lutron dealer, so we can also do all kinds of motorization and automation. That's something that a lot of you guys have handymen that do your repair, but the problem with that, the handyman, is one thing. I think you guys have your handyman out doing other things than trying to fix blinds. I've seen some handymen fix some repairs, and they're very creative and they're very good, but the problem is they got to come back next week and do it again. I'm going back and fixing. I can just come back and I can either repair it if it's worthwhile. Usually it's not if they're under 5 years old. Warranty, you don't worry about it. Something happens, you say, Chris, get out there, fix it. That's what Karen does for me. Okay, that's all she has to do. She doesn't worry about it. So we're going to be here after the break. I know you guys got to get your meeting. I got my cards out there. We got coupons for 25% off. And that's about it. If anybody have any questions, let me know.
All right, so you guys know we're facing licensing in all of the cities. So we've got a great group of people here that we brought together that have given us their time to kind of explain it to everybody so that we're all on the same page and we're all doing it legally. So I want to give the floor to Ginger Wright. And she is the president of the Central Florida chapter of the Florida Association of Business Tax Receipts and the City of Cape Canaveral Business Tax Receipt Form and Requirements. Thanks, Ginger.
Hi, as Karen said, I am the business tax official for the City of Cape Canaveral, president of the Central Florida chapter of FABTO, that's our fictitious name. I'm also the vice president of the state of Florida for FABTO. We did just get back from our conference. I've got some cities also here, and they did come to the conference, and county. With the business tax receipts for short-term rentals in the City of Cape Canaveral. I've been there 3 years. When I came, the city said, this is all the businesses we have. Well, I came from the city of Altamont Springs. I was there for 13 years. So I knew very well that they had a lot more than what they said. They said they had 1,200. Right now, I'm over 3,000 that I have found in 3 years. Short-term rentals are the biggest ones in the city. Granted, we do have a lot of commercial businesses, but our main ones are short-term rentals. In the City of Cape Canaveral, a short-term rental cannot be anything less than 7 days. A lot of people do try to come in, because we have the port, and they're going out on the cruise ship on Sunday, so they come in Friday to have a fun day on Saturday. Can't do that. Believe it or not, we do get calls even on the weekends. The code enforcements do. They come in They tag it, they bring it to me on Monday. I then send letters out either to Karen, Debbie, or whoever it is, owners of the properties, and let them know. If a short-term rental is not licensed with us, believe me, we do find you eventually. Code enforcement go out every single day. They're taking pictures of cars. If one car is green and it's a tag from Tennessee, and the next day there's a yellow car from New York, we know it's changing every other day. We don't allow it. If we find one, I will send out a 7-day letter. They have 7 days to come in compliance. If they do not, then I send out a certified letter. They have 5 days to contact me. If they do not contact me, I then turn everything over to code enforcement. Code enforcement will turn around and send a notice of violation. They have 10 days to contact the code officer. If they do not contact the code officer, it's going to a notice of hearing, which can be up to $250 a day in fines if they do not come into compliance with us. What they do need is a state license from the Department of Business and Professional Regulations. I know a lot of you guys hold the state license. I know Showcase holds the state license, which means they do not have to, the owners do not physically have to go and get that license because they hold the state license for them. Karen, Debbie, do you guys do the tourist tax, or is that up to them? We do. Oh, okay. Okay, short term, they do the tourist tax. So you have to have the state license, and they have to have the tourist tax, and they have to have the business tax receipt from the city, from the county. Also today, the county is here, and they will talk to you about their part of the business tax receipts for the county. Long terms for the city of Cape Canaveral, we still do license. You do not need a state license. You do not need a tourist license, but you do need to have your license from the city of Cape Canaveral. You do not need a county business tax receipt. You'll hear today a lot of us will be talking about, we'll just come out and say BTR. That's what we call it for short, a business tax receipt. So if you hear me or Coco or the county say BTR, that's what it is. Renewal season is starting to come. Everybody is starting to work on them already. I know I'm in the process of doing mine, and I'm sure everybody else is starting theirs also. The year goes from October 1st to September 30th of each year. It goes from the Panhandle to Key West. Everybody's on the same exact schedule. All renewals have to be paid by September 30th. In the city of Cape Canaveral, I don't go by postmark. It physically has to be in my hands at the close of business on September 30th. If it is not October 1st, you're going to have a 10% penalty. If I get something in the mail October 1st, I'm sending it back. That 10% has got to be added onto that. November 1st starts your 15% penalty. December is your 20. January is your 25th. After 150 days from the time the first initial notice goes out, we can charge a $250 fine, which a lot of cities, a lot of counties do. Cape Canaveral is starting. When I went there, they had no idea that they could do that. No, it's just a solid $250, yeah. So, I mean, Cape Canaveral, our fee is $27.50. So pay it by September 30th and you can avoid all of those fines. I mean, I still have people now, it's like, you could have paid it in September, but now you're paying all this extra money. The state says we can. It's in statute 205. 205 is, as we call it with BTRs, with FABTO, we call it our Bible. We go over it every single time we have a meeting, every time we have conference, which we just had. 3 weeks ago, we just finished. There's a lot of changes coming, not only to short-term rentals. Every other business will be affected by all of these changes that are coming. Some will take effect July 1st. Some will take effect October 1st. When you send me an application for the city of Cape Canaveral, been there forever. When you send it to me and it's a short-term rental or a long-term rental in the city of Cape Canaveral, I need a copy of that contract that those owners have signed. That is not only to protect you, but it's to protect the city. You hear about it all the time on the news. This couple rents this house and this guy says he's the landlord, and come to find out he's not the landlord. The owner of the property didn't know anybody was in that house. We have to see that contract that you guys write up with your customer. If I don't have it, I will be calling you. I will be emailing you. I cannot put it in the system without that. Let's see. We are having a lot of problems now with Airbnbs. Two code officers and myself in the city of Cape Canaveral, we have dummy accounts. We each go on 1 day a week. We'll go in and we will we'll find some location in the city. If it comes back and says, yes, we can rent it for 2 days, well, they're busted. Because you cannot rent it for more than 7 days or less than 7 days at a time. When you get my license from me, it'll say it right on the license, nothing less than 7 days. I know a lot, yes.
So what about if they rent it for 3 days?
That's fine. If they're going to rent it for 3 days and not bring anybody else in for 4 more days, that's fine. But if the code officers are out in the field and find it, then you're out of luck. We also have in the city of Cape Canaveral, because we are so small, we're 1.9 miles. Believe it or not, I get calls every single day. I live at this address. These people next door, they're coming in, they're going out. It's every other day they're changing hands. So then I have to go on to the property appraisal, find out who owns that property, and then once again, I'm sending out my letters. It's a never-ending circle with rentals, especially short-term. Another way I catch them, if somebody comes in and wants to do, he's doing lawn service. He's using his home as a business. Well, I physically have to go in and look at property appraisal there. If he does not own it, then I have to go see if I have a business tax receipt for that property. If I do not, then I have to try to track down the owner and tell them, I know you're renting your house. You have to have a business tax receipt because you're renting it out. Some people just, okay, no problem. And some people, it's ridiculous trying to. Long-term rentals in the city of Cape Canaveral are $27. Short-term is $27.50. We are the lowest city in the county for rentals. I was just putting together Indian Harbor's paperwork as Sue Frank couldn't be here today, and I was showing Karen. Indian Harbor, their rentals, their first-time application fee is $500. There are papers out there with their application. That's the first time. Their second time to renew it is, I think it was $350. So here's Cape Canaveral at $27.50. Down the road is $350. So please make sure your customers pay the $27.50 because I about fell off the chair when I read that yesterday when she sent it to me. I couldn't believe the fee that they charge. Okay, I did bring out some applications. My business cards are out there also. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions so far on anything? Yes. No, not on their short term. Their short term, when I give them their license, I physically tell them there's a paper hooked to their license and I tell them to come see you on their short term. No, long terms, they don't have to, correct? Yeah. All right, I'm talking to Donna. She is from the county. No, Donna, raise your hand so everybody can see you. Tammy, raise your hand. Those are the county. Oh, yeah, no. Yep. Yeah. Why don't you come up here for a second with me? Now, a lot of people will come in and tell me, oh, I've gone to the county, but they told me I have to get yours first. Yes. You have to have the city's first. That's any city, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Any city, you have to have their business tax receipt from that city first. And like I said, when I hand them mine, I have a paper and it says, go to county. And I put your address on it, I put your phone number on it, and they're like, well, when do I have to do this? And I'm telling them, you need to go now. You've got mine, you have to go get theirs. So make sure when you do that, when you're submitting an application, make sure whoever picks it up realizes once you get that city, you have to go to the county. And the first time, they have to come in person?
No. And not every county's the same. So some counties, you don't have to have a city and a county. Our Board of County Commissioners said, no, in this county, you're going to need to have both, a city and a county. So we love it when people come in from the city because the work's usually already done for us. The cities have done the work and it's easier for us to issue. However, I left some brochures. I brought brochures and they're on the back. We are all online, so they don't even have to come into us. They can just get right online, submit that application. We send them emails back saying, we guide them along the way. We need this, we need that, or now it's time to pay. You can go right online, pay your account, and print your business tax receipt without ever coming up to us.
Do they have to send in a copy of like mine to show you that they've got it?
Okay. And you can upload that. And if
Okay.
you can't upload, it won't let you do anything. So, you can mail.
We do a lot. You can fax it to us. We have an email. We try to work every which way. That way they don't physically have to come to Titusville. The first time around, that's where it has to be processed. Long term.
Just short term.
Now, how much is your license?
37. Goes to zoning. They're all approval fees that they have to pay.
Now, do you guys do half of your fees? No, okay.
And unlike Cape Canaveral, we go by the postmark. So when it's in renewal time, if it's postmarked by the date, we don't charge you that late fee.
I think a lot of counties do that through the state. They do the postmark. Cities do in person, or has to be in the office by 5 o'clock on September 30th. Yeah. Well, it's not really the brokers. Whoever that BTR belongs to, that homeowner, that owner of that property is the one that is responsible to make sure that that is paid on time. A lot of cities don't even send out renewal notices anymore. Do you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is a problem, and it's mostly a problem for the brokers out there, is because if something's not on that application, and that was one of the things we were going to talk about, if you can put who you are on that application and who we need to contact, we will contact you. If we don't have that, if we don't have, because a lot of times we have an email, and I forgot who it was that had the email, and it was Ladybug something. You should have seen me trying to hunt this realtor down by this email, so I didn't have to call the owner of the property. Because when we call the owner of the property, what happens is they're irate. Why are you calling me? I'm paying somebody to do this, and I can guarantee you it's generating a call to you guys of why you're not managing their property and why they're getting these phone calls. So on your application, if you put on there, contact your name and your phone number, we will contact you. We won't contact that owner of the property because we know you're handling it, but we have no choice if we don't know how to get a hold of you. That would help.
Any questions on any of this? Like I said, renewal notices will be going out. However, it is up to each city and it is up to each county. We do not, per Florida statutes, we do not have to send out renewal notices. We send those out as a courtesy. A lot of the bigger cities don't send them out. Jacksonville doesn't, Tampa, Orlando, Miami. It's usually the bigger cities that do not because they just have way too many. It would cost them a fortune to print them, to stuff them, to mail them. City of Cape Canaveral still does send them out. This year coming up, we are changing systems. You will be able to pay online this year. Yes.
And we're going also, you're going to have an option to get your renewal notices electronically. So we're also trying to get away from the paper system because nobody does paper anymore.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
So you'll have that option to pick that and where you want that to go.
Yeah. Also, we're not doing, as of right now, I have secured paper because years ago, it was the big thing. You had to have a secured paper that if you try to print mine, it does nothing but says void all over it. We're doing away with that. You're going to be able to print them from the online. How we're going to be able to tell the difference is I'm going to have a special code in that because I'm not using the secured papers each year. It's just going to be a plain white paper. So when the fire department comes out and inspects, they're looking for that code. If I go out and inspect, I'm looking for that code, or if code enforcement, they're looking for that code. With a short-term rental in the city of Cape Canaveral, it has to be posted. Has to be posted someplace in that unit. It can be on the back of a door, down a hallway, whatever. It has to be posted. So when the fire marshal comes out once a year, he sees it. Code enforcement does come in every once in a while. They need to see it. I very seldom go into units. Every once in a while I have, but we have to make sure it's posted. You also have to have posted exit signs. You have to have the exits above a door or something. And the fire marshal does tell you or whoever they're going in to look at that these are the things that have to be. You have to have a fire extinguisher, of course, and all this information that has to be posted in the units. Long-term rentals in the city, you don't need anything posted. the owner of the property or who's ever managing it can keep the BTR in their office, whatever, it doesn't matter. Of course, now you'll be able to print off as many as you want of those, so you don't have to pay an extra. I get people in, oh, I lost theirs, I can't find it. It's $10 right now to reprint a license for us.
And for the tax collector, if you lose your license, you can just go onto our website and print it. You don't have to call us and say, hey, I lost my license, I need another one. If it's paid, if you can go in there and you can reprint it yourself. You don't have to contact us to do that. Print as many as you want.
But that saves time. Yes. What do you mean you don't have paperwork?
I was gonna touch base, are we still set to talk at 12? Or do you want me
Yeah,
You
well,
want us
no.
to go ahead since we're
Yes,
here?
since we're all here, go ahead.
Who cares about an agenda?
I was going to get to that. So when you're filling out the application, especially when you come to that line that says nature of business, that is so important because that way we know how to code the accounts. You have a resort dwelling, you have a resort condo, and then we have one that says vacation rental. Rental is a code that we use on accounts that are doing a consecutive 3 months to 6 months, and they don't require state licensing for that one, which is very rare, but it does happen. Now, on the other ones with the property management are the short-term rentals for their people are required to have a state license. I understand that the state now is bundling everything onto the management company state license where there's only one copy of that. That way we know that you have that rental under your state license, so where we can code ours. But it's also this nature of business, because when we have to send it to zoning, it affects the zoning of that property, whether they're renting less than 30 days. That's why we want that area filled out.
Well, you're holding the license.
You're talking about the state license and the BPPRs?
Okay, well, on my applications, when you send them to me, you always have your license number down, which I can go to DBPR and pull it up.
You can do that too.
Yeah, just if you don't send me a copy of that state license, just make sure you have your state license down on my application, because I physically can go to DBR and I pull it and then I scan it and put it with that application. But like Donna said, we have to have a copy of something. So you have to, like, I don't physically, actually, I've already started, I review state licenses right now as renewals are coming up. I already have showcases. I've gone in and looked at theirs. So I've got a spreadsheet and it's like, yep, they're okay, so I don't have to, and I go in and check everybody else's. Even though I do, you guys probably check your other BTRs too, your contractors and stuff like
Yes.
that, right?
So we're strict with the county, with the tax collector. Anybody that renews through us for their county license, which everybody should be doing.
Yep.
So if you're a city here, and if you could direct them to us once you issue that city license, that would be great. But we check everything. If you're a doctor, we check your license to make sure it's current. Anything that has any type of state-issued license, a lawyer,
Massage therapist.
contractors with the county who get county license to do like painting and stuff like that, we verify any kind of license if there's one required. So they do not get their renewal unless they show proof that we have that license and it's current.
Yeah. I know for a fact because every once in a while I'll fill in at the permit desk up front. We don't ask physically for a contractor's state license or their workman's comp. We physically just go to Brevard counties. If they have everything, it comes up in Brevard County and it says they're good to go, then we'll issue their permit. If they're not good to go, they're missing something, you got to step to the side, you got to call the county, ask what they need. So every single city and county should be checking each state license. Like I said, I've already got my spreadsheet going on. I'm checking, I've already gone, done showcase. I'm in the process and I have my spreadsheet hanging up because the state, we're not supposed to issue a BTR unless we verify that they hold a state license. And that's also in our Florida statute 205.
And along with the Florida statute, so not only do we follow the Florida statute 205, we have to follow the county ordinance. So whatever that county ordinance says that the county commissioners have put together, just like the thing with the, I'm sure you saw it all over the news with adopting pets now from pet places and this and that, your dogs, that was added into our ordinance. So we have to follow the statute for Florida, and then we also have to follow the ordinance for the county. So we're not just sitting there making up rules as we go along. We have to follow all of our guidelines that we need to follow.
And with Florida statutes, Tammy just came to conference. We were there together. The changes are coming, and the changes are going to be coming fast, especially for short-term rentals. Airbnb, what is it? Yes. I mean, they're all coming, and you guys are going to have to watch and Google it through Department of Business and Professional Regulations, DBPR. You can just go on, Google it, type in changes for vacation rentals, short-term rentals, because the changes are coming. It's either they're going to take effect July 1st or October 1st. One of those, they're coming. Just as no texting allowed anymore. Everything is coming. So please make sure you go on to DBPR and check out the website. And it will tell you exactly. I know some of the language that they use is ridiculous, trying to figure out what it says. I mean, you have to print it off and go, line by line, trying to figure it out. It's there, and if you call them, they're going to say, well, you just got to read it. They're not going to physically tell you what it says. You have to try to determine what it says. Well, it's the short-term rentals are with the Airbnb. They're trying to crack down more on the Airbnb with the state licenses, and because Airbnb will hold a state license, but they don't do the tourist tax. So each person.
They do in Brevard County.
They do in Brevard County.
Oh, really?
We don't register the BTR because their physical location of Airbnb is not.
Oh, see, I still get, if they're Airbnb, they have to have a BTR from me. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So see, each city is different. At conference, somebody would say, well, my city does this. Well, yeah, that's because that's what your ordinance says.
Right.
You have to, in the city of Cape Canaveral, our ordinance always refers back to 205, but it says what I can do. But I also, like Tammy said, not only do they follow the state, they have to follow the county ordinances. Same thing with me. I do the state, but I have to do the city. So it just depends on what city you are getting a BTR from or what county. Of course, we all know this is Brevard County. So it just depends. The safest thing to do if you have a rental property in Cocoa Beach, in Cocoa, in Melbourne Beach, Cape Canaveral, any place, just call the city. Ask them if you can speak to the person that handles their BTR. That's the best way to go through. They will explain to you what you have to do.
And if you're in unincorporated Brevard County, call us, but some of your questions may get answered when George and Mary come up here and speak. Because ultimately, they're the ones that say yes or no, unincorporated.
Hey, one other thing, the reason the property managed companies that have all of their rentals on the state license booked all 50 whatever, have no access to that because I your state license. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I even called and they said the only way that we could find out which units are covered.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to just explain to them, I would, this is to protect you. The city, the county, we need to make, they want to make sure that you own it and you know that somebody's renting your unit out. I mean, it's to protect them so that John Smith doesn't say, yeah, I own it and I'm renting it out, and Carol, whoever goes, no, that's my unit. Just explain to them that this is to protect them. Even have them just fill out a letter, get it notarized, have them send it to you, and then send it on to us. It's just to protect them, you, and the city. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what, personally, what I, huh?
I don't know about that. But.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Broker situation.
Yeah, I don't know either.
As a broker, which I am, property for an owner. Know about the registrations. Back to the broker and say, you're paying for this because as the property management company, inform us of this. That's why.
And that's why they get so upset when we have to call them because we have no other resource.
Mm-hmm.
They literally, we've had them freak out on the phone with us, like, I pay them, blah, blah, blah. Okay, just tell me who it is. That's all I want to know. Tell me who it is, and I'll contact them. But they get upset that they're spending money.
Reality is that the IRS comes back and finds out that you manage the property.
And with that, what Karen just said about social, per Florida statutes, we cannot issue a BTR unless that person has an EIN number or a social security number. That is, when I first came to Cape Canaveral, they said, oh, we're going to redo our applications. We're taking this information out here because we don't need social security numbers. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, Florida statutes, we have to have not your EIN number. We need their EIN number or their social security number. I mean, it's right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to have it. Also, if somebody has an LLC, for instance, and they want to put that LLC, that it's the name under their property, whatever, I can't think of a name offhand. If that LLC, because I have called Karen and I have called Debbie and I've told them, this LLC does not come up in the state. Somebody lives in New Hampshire and they have a company up there and they want to put their property in that name because they have an LLC up in New Hampshire. Can't put it in that name in the state of Florida unless it's registered here. with the Division of Corporations under SunBiz. They will register it as a foreign because it does exist in a different state, but it has to be listed in the state of Florida. I mean, there's lots of times Karen will say, well, they don't want to do that. Well, then I don't license it under the LLC. It has to go under their legal name, their legal given name. They can't add anything in front of it or behind it. If it's a trust, they actually also, that trust has to be registered with the state of Florida. Can't just go in a trust, has to be, the state of Florida is very picky. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, do you guys want to continue? And now, does anybody have any questions for me from Cape? Yes.
Yeah, we've covered everything.
Well, SunBiz, you'll go to register those names. It's sunbiz.org. Up at the top of it, you're going to see a blue tool bar. Click on that and it'll say start a business, but then it'll say foreign if they're in a different state and they want to register their name again. It's 24 hours to turn that around. You fill out the application, you pay it. For an LLC or an INC, it's $138 with the state. You do it today before 5 o'clock, it's going to be out there tomorrow. If they're registering a fictitious name, the fictitious name, same website, sunbiz.org. Click on Start Business, click on Fictitious Name. There's a trick to register in a fictitious name. If they click on multiple counties, that name they can use from the Panhandle to Key West. If they click just Brevard County and then they are going to do a rental in Orange County under that same name, they have to file that fictitious name again under Orange County. So make sure they register at multiple counties. It's good for the whole state, all the way to the Keys. Yep. Right. If you go on and register, if they go on and register that LLC or INC with the state of Florida, and it's $138, they have to renew that every year as an annual report. If they do not have it paid, that annual report, by April 30th, there's a $500 fine come May 1st. Did you know that? No. Oh, yeah, it's a $500 fine.
I knew they had a fine, but I didn't think it
Yeah.
was that bad.
So if you have a client that has their rental property under that LLC, just ask them, are you filing your annual reports? So now with the Department of Business and Professional Regulations for their state license, they're going to go on, and all you got to do is get into DBPR, click on, or go up to the top in search bar and put vacation rental. It'll come up right then and there. It actually kind of falls under also hotel and restaurants.
They actually have, you can download a brochure with them. Once you put in rentals,
Yeah.
you'll see, it'll pop up a screen and it'll say right there, rental brochure or something like that. And you can click that and download that brochure, and it tells a lot about the rentals, how they classify them and the definitions and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much that license is.
I don't know.
You guys know, I know you pay, you don't pay an individual one, you pay $125? Oh, yeah, okay, so an individual one, I'm not sure how much it is. Nobody's really told me. Yes? He can put it in the trust if the trust is registered in the state of Florida. How I do it, the trust name would be on top. His name will be right below that name. So his name, it'll just say John Smith then. Yep. A lot of people, even though it's not, they'll come in, and years ago, it didn't matter. It could have said John Smith's rental property, and you didn't have to register anything. 2012, Tallahassee changed that because they said John Smith's rental is not his legal given name. So that's why now we're really cracking down on fictitious names. When Governor Scott was still in office, July 1st, 2017, it came into effect that you have to register, if you're not using your legal given name or your legal LLC or INC and so on, that's a fictitious name. Everything has to match 100%. You have to register it as a fictitious name. That is law. That was signed in July 1st, 2017. A lot of people don't realize if they're using a fictitious name and it's not registered with the state, that's actually a felony and it's a $10,000 fine. So make sure you tell somebody if they're going to use a business name, a fictitious name, and they don't register it. If the state finds it, it's going to be a felony, $10,000 fine. And that is out on Sunbiz. That is on the website. Yep. Any other questions for Tammy or Donna or anybody? Or me? I've got my business cards out there. You guys can call me anytime. Just ask if who does business tax receipts? Well, I'm the only one, so they'll pass my call right to me because they don't want to do it. Okay.
Good morning. We were asked to come here to kind of discuss our process. Ginger kind of covered almost everything that governs us. So a lot of our policies and procedures are regulated the same as what Ginger has already covered. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Dennis Bunt. I'm the Code Enforcement Manager for the City of Cocoa. This is Darla Crowell. She's my co-coordinator. We are here because Darla used to work in the building department where our business tax receipts are processed. Code enforcement usually doesn't come into this process except on the backside, but we wanted to come and share this with you. Our process is a little simple. We didn't bombard multiple applications. We have two types of business tax receipts. We have general business tax receipts for businesses, whether it's home occupation or actual business, and then we have residential rental business tax receipts. And we have an entire ordinance that covers residential rentals. And your residential rental, whether you say you're a short-term vacation rental or whether you rent all year long. So you're required to get our business tax receipt if you're a rental, period. We also do an inspection with that residential rental. It's not mandatory. We have to ask permission to enter a home and do the inspection, but we keep documentation of it. So if you are a short-term vacation rental, you would still fill out the residential rental business tax receipt, go into our database, be documented. If you're a bed and breakfast, we have a separate ordinance which predates all the short-term rentals, and it's still in effect, and we cover those differently as bed and breakfast, and we have a complete definition on what a bed and breakfast is and what would cover it. We try not to get involved in this Airbnb. People say, oh, I have an Airbnb next to me, and in reality, it's a short-term vacation rental. Airbnb is just a website that they advertise on. In City of Cocoa, a bed and breakfast means it's an owner-occupied structure that rents out multiple rooms by the night. And in that case, we do look at all your state information, we look at whether you're paying your bed taxes and that, and there's a whole separate ordinance for that. But even for those, you would still need a residential rental business tax receipt, but we just divide them up. So we only have 2 forms. I'm going to let Darla go through our process for business tax receipts, and then we'll answer any questions.
Hello, I'm Darla. I'm not a speaker, so I'm like nervous, so just bear with me. We thought this was all just about rentals, so anyway. Normally, if you go in to do a rental business license, you go into the city of Cocoa, which Deb knows right there. You have to fill out the application. All you have to fill out is, it's highlighted on items you have to fill out. It's normally the property owner's information. They have to have it signed and notarized. And then on our second page, this is where it's important. It's the property owner, and then if it's a property manager like Showcase or whoever, they have to have the information on here. And then they have to go in before they let this go. They have to make sure that the realtor has a business license of their own. So, and that's where this one comes in, which is this is a new form they've done. It's a pretty long form, but they have to turn in their realtor license or their bar card, whoever comes in, they have to turn in their license if they're saying they're a lawyer, a realtor, whomever. There's some things they have to turn in, and there's a list they give them. I didn't bring that list, but there's a list of items for certain things they have to turn in. So as far as our rentals, we have a form that you fill out, and you list each property that you rent in our city. Yes, anything that's rental property, they have to fill this out. If you have single family, they charge $74 for the single family, no matter how many you have. If you have rental units like duplexes, there's a whole different line item of each, like 2 to 5 is a fee plus the 74. But you can go on our website. Well, right now our websites, they're updating our website, but there's different fees for how many ever rentals you have for units. That's a totally different thing. Then we have, if we find out that they have property and if it's not homesteaded, that's how they go on when somebody comes in to apply for one. They go into property appraisers and make sure that if it's not homesteaded, then we find out if it's rental property. They say it's not rental property. We have a form that they must fill out, and it's called an exemption form. This states that they're not renting this property, and if they find out that they are, then they pay a fine. This has to be notarized, so it's not something they can just come in and say, hey, I don't rent this property, I'm just going to sign this. And they need to let you guys know, because a lot of the realtors, they find out that you have they say they have one property, and you find out later that they got like 6. So when they come in to fill out the paperwork, they need to fill out the paperwork with all the rentals. If for some reason one of them's not a rental property, they need to have them fill out that exemption. We keep it in our Laserfish, and y'all need to keep track of it with you. That way it covers you too. So we have to go by, if they're a corporation, they have to fill out whatever is on property appraisers. That's what goes on this form. So like you said, it has to be covered under SunBiz, stating that they are a corporation, and they have to turn the paperwork in stating that they are a corporation, an LLC, a trust, or whatever. And that's what we have to have with that paperwork for anything they do, a business, rental, anything. So do you have any questions? Yes.
And that's correct. And a lot of times we'll get with Ed or one of the investigators, and we'll give them whatever information we have so that they can prove that, because they can go back a number of years and
Back charge them.
10 years, yes.
Yeah, we just went to a meeting a couple weeks ago on that. Yes. No. We usually have them fill out this application. If it's turned in,
Well, the way that our residential rental ordinance reads is if it's available to be rented for 30 consecutive days, it's considered a rental. So if they have it on Airbnb and you can book a room, whether the rooms are getting booked or not, it's a rental. Now, if you're only doing it for a weekend, that is an actual loophole in our code. But if it's advertised or available to be rented at any of those times, it doesn't actually have to be occupied. If you advertise it like that, and we'll go on Airbnb and check, and if the calendar's there and I can select a room any day during the month, it's a rental.
so whether they tell us it's not or not, they still have to fill out that application and pay that $74. Yeah, there is no minimum.
I don't really have one.
If it's rental, it's rental because we don't have the staff to go out and say, oh, well, tomorrow they're going to sell it unless they fill out this application. And then actually when they fill this application out and they say that it's up for sale, the officers go by and check every so often to make sure that, because they do that. They say it's for sale, they'll fill this application out, and then you find out that they're going to rent it between they're selling it. And it's, yeah, that's. Anybody else? Yes. Hard for us to keep track of because how would we prove? I mean, like I said, we don't have the staff. We try and our gentlemen, our code officers, go out in the field, and if they see, like rental signs up, they bring them into me. I look them up to see if they've got a license. And well, you contact me all the time. I no longer work in the building department, but I'm still getting questions because the two new ladies over there are not real comfortable with. That's why we're here today. So.
And we do the same as I think most cities do when they come get our city license. We direct them to the county to obtain their county BTR. If we find a situation like you mentioned, we would actually issue a notice of violation, take them to code board. It's a $250 fine because they didn't have their BTR, and it's a one-time fine. So we wouldn't make them go back and pay because they're in the process of selling, but they could still be hit with a $250 fine. Also, we do the same as was mentioned. We check cars, tags. We're with the police department, so we'll run tags as they come in to see where people are. And we handle all that. All the enforcement end is the same.
I'll repeat it. So in the city of West Melbourne, I was told the zip code, and don't quote me on this because I'm not an attorney and I'm not in the city of West Melbourne. I work for Karen. 32904 is the area code, zip code that you need to watch. It's long-term only, and their cost is like $35 annually for the first year with the application fee, and then $25 a year after that. And their application is online, just City of West Melbourne BTR. You can Google and find it. And Wanda's great. She's the point of contact down there. She's really great. Now, if you have a short term down there, you got to go to Brevard County anyway, but require the city licensing for short term. Not that I know of. and I'm only speaking because I deal with them a lot, and I have a lot of properties that I have to license for Karen. So Joy handles the business tax receipt forms. So you can go, again, you can go online and fill them out. Your short term is $90 for the first year. That includes a $10 application fee. It's $80 per year after that. That is for any short-term rental. Less than 6 months, you've got to fill that out and apply. If you have a single-family residence that is going to be rented short-term, which their requirements say less than 1 month, 3 times a year, you have a 12-page form you have to fill out. It'll cost you $200 annually. It'll also cost you to have it inspected. And it's only in the RS1 zoning that's required. So if it's not in any other zoning, if it's in a different zone of Cocoa Beach and it's rental, short term, then you don't have to worry about that form. So I'm so glad you guys came. There's so many different requirements, and it's so easy to get your point of contacts and call and say, okay, this is what I have, let them ask the questions, and they tell you what you need. It's a lot easier. So Cocoa Beach does not require long-term licensing, only short-term. That I'd prefer you call them because it's changing all of the time, and it's right, right, and it's right. And I've done the same and gotten different answers each time, and I think it's different condos and apartments versus single-family residents. There you go. Yeah. But it's so good for your owners, like real estate agents. If somebody's buying a property and they want to rent out VRBO, are they even able to? Find that out or know who to call to find out so that you're not leading them responsible. You can say, you should call the city and find out. I have to say, oh, I'll call for you because I don't want.
And then Sherry from my office called the city of Melbourne Beach because there was a client that wanted to take his unfurnished property and convert it into an Airbnb. And at this point in time, they have no regulations, correct? We're looking at it. So they're in the attorney stages and having an attorney like jump on the bandwagon with every other city. So. Okay. Welcome.
Good morning. My name's George Ritchie. I work with Brevard County's Board of County Commissioners. I am specifically in the Planning and Development Department and do zoning for Brevard County. I also interface with the tax office in doing the business tax receipts, as well as Mary Taylor in my office. We have several different types of short-term rental. The resort dwelling is one, the vacation rental is another. We also have bed and breakfast inns. So there are many different types of titles that we look at. Now, in the unincorporated regions of the county, our rules cover all of that area. So if we get a call from a city, we'll defer that to the city. There are certain zonings that allow a resort dwelling as a permitted use. In the zoning code, we break down uses as either permitted with conditions, or conditional uses. Permitted uses are things you can do outright. You got residential zoning, you want to build a house, that's a permitted use. Now, a resort dwelling is allowed in certain zoning classifications. I gave somebody a list to make a screenshot, but those zoning classifications are dealing with single-family attached zonings, which will be listed as RA-2- and then a number. And that last number talks with density allowances. But that zoning classification is single-family attached. That allows a resort dwelling as a permitted use. We have RP, which is a residential professional zoning. That zoning allows a business or a residence or a combination. Then we have multifamily zoning, which is RU-2- a number. That tells us, again, the density of that multifamily use. Now, multifamily zoning can develop as single family or can also be developed as multifamily sites. That particular zoning allows a mix of uses. So we would have to look it up to determine what kind of zoning you have and whether you want that house to be rented for short periods of time. You can come in for the resort dwelling use. Now, our definition looks at resort dwellings as rental periods of 90 days or less, or 3 months, whichever's greater. So when we're looking at those periods of time, we're determining, is this a resort dwelling or is it a vacation use, vacation rental, which is like 6 months or less. So depending upon what the tax office sends us, we'll be reviewing it accordingly. If you're not one of those residential zonings, we're not going to be allowing that use on the property unless you rezone the property. We also have commercial zonings that can allow a resort dwelling. We have BU1A, BU1, and BU2. Those are our 3 commercial zonings. So that is an activity, if you had a house, you could rent that through a resort dwelling use. We have tourist commercial zonings called TU1 and TU2. Planned Business Park, which is PBP. And then there's a zoning up in the north end of the county that hasn't been developed yet. It's part of the Farmington area. It's called Farm 1. In their workplace district, they also allow resort dwellings as a permitted use. Now, if you have a single-family zoning that wasn't one of those that I listed, and you want to do a resort dwelling, we have permitted with conditions activities. There is a list in the code as to what those standards are, and copies of those have been put out at the back. And if you can meet those conditions, then you would be applying, and we would verify that you meet those codes, and then we can issue a BTR on that specific activity. There are also conditional uses. Conditional uses have to be approved by the county commission. So if somebody cannot meet the standards as a permitted with conditions use, they still may be able to apply for a zoning change to get a conditional use permit. That's about a 3 to 4 month process to go through, and requires the majority of the votes from the county commissioners, 3 out of 5, to get a zoning approved. So there is that process. You may even want to change the zoning to a multifamily zoning, which is permitted if you can get that kind of zoning change done as well. Now, to help assist determine what kind of zoning we may have on the property, we have a public access map that anybody can go to and look up and find the zoning on that particular parcel. If you go to our county webpage at https://www.brevardfl.gov, that'll take you to the county's webpage. From there, you would click on the link for department list, go down to planning and zoning or planning and development. And then on our homepage, we have a link that's titled GIS Zoning and Future Land Use. You click that button and it will take you to a map. And there's a disclaimer you have to accept to use that map. You can go by tax account number, address. There's several different ways to search for a property. And it'll tell you that base zoning classification for that lot. And you can call us and we can actually, research it ourselves. But, just if you want to double check to make sure what you're dealing with, if you're first time callers, a lot of time we'll get calls in single family areas and our answer is you can't do a resort dwelling on that location. So Mary's handing out some of the printouts on those directions. And does anybody have any questions? The department is 321-633-2070. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? All good? Well, we really appreciate you guys coming out. I'm sorry there wasn't a lot of people here. I think last time we had like 80 people here that had a million questions. So we redid this class, adding all these different representatives here. But we have streamlined it, so it will be on the Board of Realtors site. And I'm going to get all the forms from each of them and also upload those as well. But I do encourage everybody to call the different cities and get the information, because sometimes it does change. And it's my understanding as well from Ginger that they actually are updating it and changing the fees next year. So thank you for all. Oh, go ahead. As far as I know, they don't. Do they, Debbie? Yeah. I have Sharon Maynard in that office, so. They're trying, right? There's the people that haven't got on board yet are trying to mirror what the other people are already doing. Hopefully they don't mirror Indian Harbor Beach because a lot of owners will be like $500 is a lot for a first-time application and $350 for the next year. Satellite beaches. So there's all different kinds of requirements. And so again, I encourage you to call the numbers, get that information. I'll get everything up to the website here at the Board of Realtors so that they have it, so you can just click the link and be able to get that as well. And you can always call me. My direct line number at my office is 321-394-7750. And if I don't have the answer, I'll get that for you, being the property management chair. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask the board office because they'll upload that. So I think she's not in here anymore. She left. All right. So if there's nothing else, then I will see you on the next class that we have. Appreciate you all coming. Thank you.